Good morning, and you know what? Welcome to Rising. That's our show. We've got a great one for you today, as we do every day. I'm Robby Soave, and this is Lindsay Granger, and
our decor is still there.
What's still there?
The decor, no, that's still there, so that's a good thing.
I've already moved on emotionally, psychologically from those things.
Hopefully the audience has as well, but in the meantime,
they're missing
that's not over it yet.
They're missing the desk.
I know they're missing the desk.
It's not on this subject. It's on something else. It's on a subject that is near and dear to all of our hearts. Hunter Biden is speaking out. Former President Joe Biden's notoriously troubled second son suffered a wide-ranging 3-hour interview with YouTuber Andrew Callahan. While their conversation about Hunter's struggles with alcohol and drugs will certainly be interesting to many people, it was, of course, Hunter's comments about the Democratic establishment that most struck me. You see, Hunter is furious with the leaders of the Democratic Party for, in his view, betraying dear old dad. Here he was railing against Jon Favreau and the rest of the Obama bros at Pod Save America.
The Pod Save America saviors of the Democratic Party, with four white millionaires that are dining out on their association with Barack Obama from 16 years ago, living in Beverly Hills, telling the rest of the world what black voters in South Carolina really want, or what the women in the waitress living outside of Green Bay, Wisconsin really believes.
Hunter also addressed his dad's bad debate performance, which effectively ended Joe Biden's campaign.
I know exactly what happened in that debate. He flew around the world, basically, in the mileage that he could have flown around the world 3 times.
Yeah.
He's 81 years old. He's tired as They give him ambien to be able to sleep. He gets up on the stage, and he looks like he's a deer in the headlights. And it feeds into every story that anybody wants to tell. And Jake Tapper, with literally how many anonymous sources?
Ambien, he blamed Ambien. I would just note when Roseanne Barr sent that offensive tweet about Valerie Jarrett, the one that ended her career, she eventually explained it was partly due to her taking Ambien. In response, the drug company that makes Ambien released a statement at the time saying that Ambien does not cause racism. Can't wait for Ambien to put out a statement saying the drug doesn't transform you into a bad president either, but I digress. Hunter Biden also railed against George Clooney and implied that it was the actor's ego that prompted him to melt down and publish an op-ed in the New York Times encouraging Biden to get out of the race. Hunter's rant on that section was so profanity-laced I can't even read it, play it rather. We have to bleep the whole thing. According to Hunter, what happened is George Clooney was mad that Biden didn't recognize him at a fundraiser, a detail that was previously reported in Original Sin, of course, the Jake Tapper, Alex Thompson book. Bleep George Clooney, says Hunter in no uncertain terms. Now, here's the deal. Conservatives are certainly enjoying watching Hunter Biden rail against all these people that they, too, don't like. The Obama bros, Nancy Pelosi, George Clooney, David Axelrod, and on and on and on. I, too, am amused, I admit it. You got me by watching this man savage the Democratic intelligentsia. But we should also face facts. The Democratic Party betrayed Joe Biden for good reason. Their only mistake was not doing so earlier. Love him or hate him, Biden was not capable of serving another term, and his inner circle tried to conceal that fact from the voters. It's ludicrous thinking he could go on. Now, Hunter is loyal to his dad, and that's understandable. It shouldn't be any other way. But the Biden family, they're deluding themselves on this. There was no way Biden was going to win the election, and there was no way he could continue to serve as president even if he somehow did win the election. It's insulting our intelligence to pretend otherwise. So while I appreciate Hunter's willingness to speak his mind, I hope he continues to do so, if only for entertainment and shock value. His openness to challenging other authority figures in Democratic circles, it's great, but he's dead wrong on the substance here, as entertaining as it might be.
Everyone knows how I feel about Hunter Biden and his recent, even when we got glimpses of this interview last week, I did an entire lens on it. This is complete misguided frustration, because when you look at what he's doing, on the one hand, I totally get it, right? If my dad was getting criticized to the level, even the degree that you mentioned, might be even too far sometimes with Biden, you start to feel bad, I would be defensive as well. But on the other hand, you can't be delusional. You have to be real. Like when we watched that debate performance, to blame Ambien, immediately I went where your mind went, to Roseanne. Immediately I was like, well, no one on his team thought that there couldn't be anything else they can do besides perhaps avoid Ambien the night before, or perhaps pull him from debating rather than ruin his entire presidential campaign, especially if he felt that he needed to sleep that bad, or change his travel schedule. Like, there's so many things that an entire team can do to avoid a bad debate performance. He has to accept the reality. I also found that he's setting the bar way too low. He said in that interview, quote, "Just because someone gets old doesn't mean they're incapacitated." And I was so frustrated because I don't think that the voters said it was because Biden is getting old that he was incapacitated. It was the debate performance and what came afterwards that showed not only could you not beat Trump, but people were not confident that you were going to move forward and lead in a way that would push the party to where they were trying to get, at least the voters and the working class was trying to get. And so I think he's really disconnected from that. And it kind of tells the story of the entire family, which most people are blaming Jill Biden. Now Hunter Biden's added himself to this conversation of just pretending that it's someone else's fault, aside from the fault of the Democratic Party and your dad, to decide that maybe this wasn't the best strategy way earlier than 107 days out from an election.
So on the, his idea that the Pod Save America bros don't really know anything, and David Axelrod doesn't know anything, and James Carville doesn't know anything. Yeah, nobody knows anything.
Everyone's so dumb
except him. I mean, I don't know. There's something. I don't know that it's fair to say those people, he was, saying they won elections in the 90s when it was easier for Democrats. They won when they had Barack Obama, who's the all-time, the GOAT. So they don't, their advice is out of date. There might be something to that. His point to George Clooney was like, George Clooney was so offended that Biden didn't recognize him, but he said, that Biden meets 1,000 people a day. He's supposed to have, or he should be if he's performing his duties, there's supposed to be the guy in his ear who says, oh, this is so-and-so, this is so-and-so. And I guess that guy either wasn't there or didn't do his job. On one hand. On the other hand, it's George Clooney. He has like the most recognized, it was George Clooney and Julie Roberts. Shouldn't someone of your generation, maybe the Gen Z kids wouldn't recognize who those people are, but those are pretty recognizable figures to anyone, born between, I don't know, whenever he was born, 1940s to now.
I think, and also, like, George Clooney just caught so many strays in this interview. He's like, no one in middle America cares about your perspective. And while I understand that the celebrity perspective directly won't persuade votes, these still are American people that do vote. And they're telling you, as somebody close to the Democratic Party that donates and provides time and resources campaigns for Democrats in the past, this doesn't look like a good strategy. They're saying the quiet part out loud that many people were saying behind the scenes, but then very openly after a horrendous debate performance. So I think, everyone, it did tickle me, the interview, but it was kind of ridiculous that even in the midst of 7 months into a new presidency, the strategy is who can blame who, and it's all different people. Instead of like, here's the actual way forward. Here's how we win the midterms. Here's how we win the next election. And we're seeing little conversations come out.
Doesn't have any insights into how to win the midterms of the next election.
Well, he's arguing like he does. He's arguing like he has a plan.
And he doesn't, and he's not right, which is why I'm cautioning people who are saying, oh my God, Hunter is brave truth teller here. No, it's funny because we just don't like the people he's yelling about, but he doesn't know anything beyond those people. He has no addition. Their insight was he thinks Joe Biden should have stuck it out. He thinks his dad should have stuck it out. Joe Biden was going to get destroyed in the general election is what the polling. You have to believe in conspiratorial thinking about the polling, that the polling would be massively in error in Joe Biden's favor, which has not even been the case. In all these recent presidential elections where we've said the polling's not done a good enough job, it actually did a pretty good job this time around in 2024. 2020, the polling was way off because it gave Biden too much credit, and he actually won by more narrowly than the polling suggested. So I don't know, what argument you can possibly marshal.
Let's just say he's chalk it up to he's protecting his dad.
Yeah, that is
which is what anybody would do.
Next up, Tulsi Gabbard has sent a criminal referral to the DOJ over her Obama-era Russiagate exposure. We'll be right back.